Hello students. I want to go over some things that we reviewed the other day in class and introduce your first tutorial. First thing is, whenever you put in your SD or CF card to download pictures from your computer, this is what should come up. And you actually go ahead and open folder to view files. At this point, then you click on your DCIM, you click on whichever number or numbers appear in the folders, and you view thumbnails. Let's pretend that these first few pictures are part of my proficiency. I would highlight them either holding down the Control or Shift button. And from here I would do Edit and Copy to Folder. I would then look for my folder in the Y drive, Photography, find my class period, my name, the correct month, and the correct assignment. And at that point the picture should copy over efficiently. Okay. Now that we're done with that, I'm going to show you a different way to copy pictures that you can use for your tutorials. First, you open up Photoshop by double-clicking on Photoshop on the side here. And you will also begin your Browse and Bridge by clicking on File and Browse and Bridge. Once you click Browse and Bridge, your desktop will come up. You double click on My Computer. And now for the tutorials, where I want you to go is the Passouts folder or the local Q drive. So you double click in there, go into High School, and you will look for Bonai, regardless of whether you are my student or Mrs. Sittler's student. And you will look for Level 2 tutorials and the correct month. Now you might notice that all of these pictures are locked, and they are locked as read-only for a reason. This way you can't modify over top of these pictures for any reason that would then ruin them for everybody else. So we have to do a batch rename in a slightly different way. So we're doing a batch rename and a move together at the same time. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, or go to Edit and select all. Select all these pictures, and I'm going to go to Tools and Batch Rename. From here, you'll notice that we no longer have the opportunity to rename them here in the same folder because you can't use it in this folder. This folder belongs to me. What you need to do is you need to browse and you need to find your tutorial folder. So you would go to the Y drive, HS Photography, your class period, your name, this month, and open this up. And you would go ahead and select tutorial, and I will hit OK. And I would put my last name, then the underscore, do my 3 digits, and hit rename. At this time it's doing two things. It is copying these files that you cannot use from my Q drive and unlocking them because it's making a copy of it into my Y drive. So now I need to go back to my computer. I need to go to my Y drive, Photography, find my class period, find my name, September, and find my tutorial. And now those pictures are there. At this point they are still read-only files, but we have been able to rename them, batch rename them. So you can see that. Down at the bottom, I just want to show you a couple things in here. You can move the lever sideways, back and forth to make the images larger or smaller. And this is how I will come around and grade many of your assignments. I also want to show you if a picture was not rotated properly. By clicking on it and then using these arrows here, you would be able to rotate the picture. Most pictures come in rotated properly, but occasionally they won't. You can drag and move pictures in different orders. So for example, if for some reason this is my proficiency and I want to put them all in the right order, I can just simply drag them and move them around and then rebatch rename them the way that they should go. So I just wanted you to know that you can move these into any order that you choose. Now, when you open a picture, double click on it to be viewed. I do want you to see that in Photoshop you can see things in here, but then you have to go back to Bridge down at the bottom to then maximize it again. Something else to take note of is if you have a picture open, I want to show you what it looks like then when we kind of come back to Bridge. And my computer's processing slow because I am recording this while I am doing this. Okay, so notice that when the picture is open, I come back here. Okay, if I tried to batch rename these pictures right now, I would be unable to do so because this picture is open. The only way I can rename it is by going to a file and save as and changing the name now. Unless when I come out of this, I actually click outside of this. Okay. So right now I have successfully moved all 4 of these pictures into this space. Okay, I do want to reopen that picture again. And I just want to show you basically how to find your layers and how to crop. And then we'll be finished with our first tutorial. So my picture is open. The first thing that you might want to do is go to Window and Workspace and go ahead and hit Reset Essentials just to make sure everything looks the way that it should, because sometimes people come in and they make changes and adjustments and open different things. Over here with Photoshop, we're going to talk about working in layers a little bit more in our next tutorial. But the first thing I want to do is I want to duplicate this layer so that any changes that I make on this picture are only on the top layer, not on the image itself. So I hit Duplicate Layer and I hit OK, and now I have 2 layers. At this point I can do something very basic, which is cropping, and it is the 4th, 5th tool down. I use the crop tool and I decide that I want to take some of this background out and just leave my foreground. At this point I can either right click and hit crop, or I can hit the enter button and it will crop for me as well. Okay, so at this point I want to do a file and save as, because I want to save this separately from that other tutorial I made. Notice that now it saves it as a Photoshop file, okay, separate from the JPEG file that we had before. I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and we'll talk more about saving again in the future tutorial as well. I'll go ahead and hit OK, and then I'm going to go back to our bridge here and see how everything shows up. So now notice we have 2 Bonai 001s. One is a JPEG and one is a PSD file. That's why one doesn't necessarily overwrite the other one. So my first tutorial was complete. I would put these side by side so that I could see the before and the after of the picture. Now what you will do is bring in another picture of yours, you will rename it properly, and you will simply crop it and save it so that I can see your before and your after in this space as well. At this point, make sure that everything is saved and named properly, and I wish you luck on your future tutorials. Thank you.